Okay, so welcome guys. This is our third lesson. So others, I'm sure they'll join in later on as we proceed. So remember last week, we talked about the evolution of advertising, and we also defined what is advertising. And the definition of advertising is very important. You should always keep it in mind. That's the basic foundation of the module. Okay. So remember we said advertising is a marketing communication that employs an openly sponsored non-personal message to promote or sell a product, service, or an idea. Um, in other words, advertising is a means of communication with the users of a product or services. And these messages are paid for by those who send the messages, meaning the advertisers. Then we also looked at the evolution of advertising, how it started from the ancient days of Rome, Popia, Egypt, how advertising used to be done on different clay pots, posters, and how it evolved from there to radio, to television, to where we are today. So that was like basically the evolution of advertising. Okay, so today we're gonna move on. Uh, Today we're gonna look at the current state of advertising. Okay, the current state of advertising in the world, in Africa, and in South Africa in particular. Okay. Um, I'm sure everybody can hear me. If you can't hear me, you just let me know so that maybe I can adjust my settings. But for now, I understand everybody can hear me. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. Um, okay, so please confirm if as well you can see my screen. Okay, so everybody can see my screen. Okay, so this is our lesson 3, the current state of advertising. Okay, so by the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand or comprehend advertising industry development. Okay, and how advertising has changed from what it was in the 28th century to what it is now. Okay, you should also understand the history and evolution of advertising. Then you should also understand the trends in the field of advertising. So there are different trends that we find in advertising. Okay. So we're going to look at all that. Okay. Okay. So in your book, if you go, we're dealing with pages 18 up to 26. Okay. So let's look at the introduction of advertising agents. Okay, so companies initially designed their own advertisements. Okay, so basically when advertisements started, companies would develop their own advertisements. They didn't need anyone outside to create that. They'll do that in-house for themselves. Okay, so in the beginning, selling agents received commission on space sold in newspapers. Agencies realized they could sell more space easily if they showed companies how to fill it. This led to specialist writers, designers being employed, and later buyers and production staff. So in the beginning, the selling agencies used to sell space in newspapers for a particular price. So they would say to a company, if you want to advertise, let's say half a page on page 7, we're selling it, let's say for 50 rand. That's how it started. So the selling agents will sell that space in advertisement, let's say for 50 rand. Then obviously maybe they'll pay the newspaper either 30 rand or 20 rand. Then they eat the other 30 bucks. Okay. So this now it led to creation of specialist writers and designers. Okay, that would deal with how to create advertisements. Okay, so later media buyers and production staff were also introduced. Okay, so the business changed from serving the media to serving the client. So the idea it started with advertising was we are serving the media because the media was that important. But however, now with the evolution of advertising, the idea changed to now understanding that the purpose of advertising should be to serve the client. How do we serve the client? By informing the client, by addressing the issues that the clients want to understand or to hear. Okay. Then we had self-reading. These are the developments that were key to this evolution of moving away from serving the media to serving the client. Okay. So in advertising agents, we have different media advertising agents. Okay. So advertising agents, in summary or in short, is a company that specifically deals with the planning, preparation, and production and execution of an advertisement. Okay, so in advertising agents, its duty or its function is to produce advertisements. That's what they do. They just do that. They specialize in making advertisements. So in advertising agents, it's a company that deals with production of advertisement. For instance, any of you guys can approach an advertising agent and say, okay, I need a 30-second advertisement for my company. You come up with your ideas, or if you don't have ideas, they can also come up with their concepts and ideas. Then they tell you their concepts. This is what we come up with. This is how we are going to approach the advertisement that you want. Okay. Until they reach a stage where you agree, where there's a mutual understanding of what has been created, then it becomes an advertisement. Okay. So in the beginning, like we said, there were no advertising agencies. People used to make their own adverts within the companies. But with time now, advertising agencies started to develop, those that deal with creativity, designing, and coming up with different advertisements. Okay. Okay, so let's look at advertising. Let's go back a little bit in time. Advertising and the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution drove the development of advertising and advertising agents. If you remember very well, Industrial Revolution, this is an era or a period that happened within the 20th century when factories and industries were developing at an alarming rate. Okay, the coming in of cars, the making in of factories that used to deal with steel production, copper production. So this was a period of where companies were getting more involved into the production industries. Okay, so during that time, if you remember in our lesson 1, we talked about the printing press. Okay, so it started with the printing press, that's print advertising, then advertising agencies. So the printing press, that's the era that started within the Industrial Revolution, the printing of newspapers. Okay, then we move from there, then we move to printing advertising. This is when we placed our adverts in a newspaper. Then we developed more into advertising agencies now. These are companies that specifically deals with the planning, production, and execution of advertisements. Okay, so electronic revolution of the 28th century, it enabled a lot of developments in terms of technology. Radio came, television came. Okay, so this drove advertisers to pursue the use of television and the use of radio. Before these two, there was newspapers and posters. Then the coming in of TV and radio, advertisers saw it as an opportunity now to pursue using these two. Agencies had to learn to adapt, learn new skills. Okay, so the advertising agencies now had to learn to create advertisements that can suit radio, advertisements that can suit television. Because before these two, remember, it was only the printing press, the print advertising. Either you just design a poster or you just place an advertisement in a newspaper or a magazine. But now with the coming in of the TV and radio, these are two different platforms and they need two different ways of communicating. With TV now, you need motion, you need picture, you need sound. With radio, you need sound. So agencies had to adapt. They had to learn new skills editing. They have to learn new editing skills, how to create a TV and a radio advertisement. Okay. Then the latest development that we have now, that's the digital technology. That's the digital space where we are now. The rise of the internet, the rise of mobile phones, the rise of computer technology. This is the era where we are. Again, you have to learn new skills. Advertising agencies has to develop new skills because this was another new platform that required different skills. Just think of it today. With digital technology, when you're advertising on social media, you need good copywriting skills, you need good designing skills, graphic designing. If you are creating a website, you have to know your IT, you have to know how to create a website, things like that. Okay. So this is a brief timeline of advertising development. Okay, from 1870 to 1900, we had our Industrial Revolution. This is when machines of all types were developed. Products could be transported across greater distances. Steam train and shop, that was the mode of transport during that time. Then products could be advertised more easily because of the printing press. And remember the printing press, this is when, the era of printing press, this is when now people were able to print in thousands, in batches, in either millions of papers. That was the advantage of a printing press. Before the printing press, if you remember in our last lesson, we said when a book was being printed, they'll print it individually, which means it will take time if you want to print 100 copies or 200 copies. But with the advent of the printing press, it made printing easier. They could now print in thousands or hundreds of thousands. Okay. And how goods were packaged and changed, it was branded, and the branding had to be advertised. This is the period of 1870 to 1900. Then the Royal Baking Powder, Lipton iced tea, etc. emerged. These were the adverts that started to emerge during this period. Okay. Then we moved into the World War II during the Hitler time, World War II. This led to technological developments, radio and TV. Radio was a commercial entity from the beginning in America. Some countries had government's control. So during this time of World War II, radio was so influential and radio was so important to the extent that outside the United States, government used to control radio because it was used as a propaganda tool, as a propaganda way of communicating with the mass, just like how Hitler used radio to manipulate the Germans. Okay. And also during this time, there was a great fundamental change for advertising. Literacy was no longer a problem. Jingles and the spoken word were understood by all. Jingles now, these are radio advertisements. Everybody could understand. So literacy was not a problem. If you could not read and write, still you can hear. Okay. So if someone is speaking on the radio, or if an advertisement come on radio, it doesn't matter, you can't read or write, you can still understand. Okay. Then after World War, then we move to cinematography. This is when TV now was initiated into cinematography. Then after TV, then followed by internet, playground for smaller companies and low-cost advertising. So that's one other big advantage of internet. It enabled even smaller companies with low budgets to advertise. So before internet, advertisements were very expensive to place an advert on radio or television. But with the advent now of internet, it created more of a fair ground where the smaller companies also would come in and be able to advertise. Okay. Then computers significantly changed the agent's life. Billing, reporting, analyzing, and research. Of course, computers changed how advertising agencies were dealing with their work. With computers now, you can analyze, you can research, you can sit on the computer, you can come up with different data, analyze the life cycle of a product, analyze the competitors' products, analyze how the advertisements that you are involved in are doing in the market. So that's the very most important advent. Then Growing requirement towards gender and ethnic matters, content and employment started reflecting diversity. So now there was a paradigm shift. There was a change now. More gender consciousness advertisements were coming up. In the beginning, it was more of male domination, but now things were starting to change a bit. Even the ethic matters were changing a bit, where either the Caucasian race, where it was dominating, a lot of also African Black people were getting involved. Okay. And now content and employment started reflecting diversity. Okay. By this, they mean even the content of the advertisement were also reflecting the demographics of that particular society. More people are getting involved, meaning even the content that is being written or that is being aired reflects the diversity of particular societies. Okay, then even employment started reflecting diversity as well. The demographics of a country. How many people do we have that are employed that are Black, that are white, that are Indian? Okay, so all this started now to be a representation of different societies. Okay. Then we moved on to advertising and film. Okay. 1939, first experimental telecast of a football game. Okay. So 1931, that was the first time they tried to broadcast a football game. Then 1941, we have over 7,000 television sets in New York City in black and white for a few hours at night. It's funny considering now everybody has a TV now. Okay, so within a decade, television station in New York City, Chicago, and LA. So within a decade after 1939, we had now television station in New York City, in Chicago, and in Los Angeles. Then 1950, we had major networks supplied national programming in America. These are media companies, CBS, NBC, and ABC. Okay. At first, the reception was poor. Static was generated by household goods and passing cars. With your generation, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I did experience this. There was a time when you had a black and white television, and when a car passes by, it would give you showers. That's basically what they are saying. It's a reception of poor. Static was generated by household goods and passing cars. So whenever there's either a big truck passing by, the TV will start to have showers. Then at first, advertisements included live singing and speaking celebrities, national commercial with high production budgets and advertised widely. In 1956, we had our video cassettes made, pre-recorded, commercial possible. 1963, the Cola Wars started, Coke and Pepsi. So from 1963 now, this is when Coke and Pepsi were trying to dominate the industry of soft drinks. Then 1970, where participating sponsorship became the norm, whereby national advertisers bought commercial slots from an inventory of network supplied programming. Okay. Then 1980, 1981, we had CNN, we had MTV, then cable TV reshaped within that area, within that period. They prospered and undermined traditional networks. Okay. Then we have niche marketing that occurred with print, also occurred in television, home and garden channels, paint adverts, travel channels, promoted local and international destinations. So the video cassette recorder VCR enabled viewers to manage, organize, and control their viewing. Okay, so with the video cassette also it came, you'll be able to record any program that is being aired on television. You put a cassette in and it will be able to record. Then the remote controls came. With the remote control, we all know remote controls now. You're able to switch on and off, change the channel. So the cable TV marketed its advertisements worldwide, and home shopping services appeared. Okay, so when they say cable television, think of your CNN. CNN, it's worldwide. It's known all over the world. MTV, we know MTV all over the world. It might have their head office United States, but it's known all over in Asia, in Africa, in South America, in Europe. Okay. So during this time, agencies did not pay for airtime. They paid 0% of profits from sales. Okay. Then we started to get infomercials, taking up to 30-minute slots, featured celebs who pitched products to the audience. Infomercials, we still have these today. Think of your clientele with Desmond Dube. Those are very long advertisements that we see on TV. Then there was a bit of a shift again from 30 to 50 sports. They could run double the sports a day. Instead of having maybe 5 or 3 advertisements, we get now more advertisements. Just like how we see on TV these days, that even if there's a popular soap on television, after 5 or 6 minutes, they air like 4 or 5 advertisements. So a program that is said to us, it's a 30 minutes program, in actual sense, it might be a 20-minute program or a 15-minute program that is cut in between with advertisements. Okay. Then product placements, you come up with your hash reads pieces. They were advertising as well. Their sales increased because of advertisement. Then with product placement, that followed thick and fast after this. In every type of film and programming, strong links to big name actors. This is when now advertisers were trying by all means to attach a big name, a big celebrity to their product. And that is still happening even up to today. Okay. So product placement in film and television. If you have watched films, I'm sure you have noticed this. In different films, you get to see different advertisements. The adverts that we see on television, they won't be like telling you that we are advertising this, but through watching a film, you'll be able to see, oh, they're advertising a car, an Aston Martin in James Bond, an Odd in the Transporter, or a Mercedes-Benz in any other films. We have seen different movies with different cars. Those are advertisements as well. They are advertising. And these days, the film industry usually advertise the latest cars or those classic cars. Okay. So it doesn't end on cars only. They advertise different things. It can be Coke, it can be Peps in a movie. It can be clothes, it can be sneakers, it can be sunglasses, it can be sheds, it can be anything else that you think of. It can be McDonald's. So film, it's part of the advertising industry. Okay. And when I say they'll also try to attach a big name to a product, if you think of your Michael Jackson with the Pepsi generation advertisement, or if you think of Cristiano Ronaldo with a Nike advertisement. Okay. So now let's move on to advertising today. Okay. Any questions before I proceed then? Any questions? No questions. Okay. So now let's look at advertising today. Now, what is happening now? So advertising today, we have print media, which is your newspapers, magazines, journals, books, etc., etc. Also, you have electronic media, your radio, your television. Then we have your digital media, your internet, your social media, your websites, Twitter, Instagram, all these platforms that we use on internet and computers. Then we have outdoor media, your billboards, your posters, your flyers, all those outdoor advertisements that we see. And usually the most popular ones are the billboards that we see. It can be a very big billboard. Okay, so that's the era that we are into now. We have all these different platforms. So as I was explaining before, that how advertisement moved from the 17th century, how it started back then in Egypt, advertising on a clay pot, on a paper. 18th century, it moved to shop signs. to town criers. People would stand on a stool and shout, "Come and buy here, we have these." Then it moved to the 19th century. We had posters, we have newspapers, we have periodical magazines and journals. Then it moved to the 28th century. We started having cell phones, internet, email, television, and radio. Okay. So the current trends in advertising in South Africa. Advertising in South Africa ranges from overtly political commentary of Nando's to the straightforward domestic function of an Omo or Skip advertisements. Okay, so I want us to watch this advertisement. Okay, so they are saying advertisements that we have in South Africa, it can be just a straightforward advertising. They're just advertising a product or a brand. Then we have those that are with a political communication. It's an advert for a product, but it also have an overt political commentary in that particular advertisement. Okay, so let's take a look at this advert. Okay, this is a Nando's advert. Okay.
You know what's wrong with South Africa? All you foreigners. You must all go back.
So we can't see your screen.
You Cameroon.
You can't see my screen. Okay, let me try.
Can't see the video. Can't see the video.
Okay.
Sorry.
Fine. Let me try again. Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start again.
You know what's wrong with South Africa? All you foreigners. You must all go back to where you came from. You Cameroonians, Congolese, Pakistanis, Somalis, Ghanaians, and Kenyans. And of course, you Nigerians. And you Europeans. Let's not forget all you Indians and Chinese. Even you Afrikaners. Back to Swaziland for you Swatis, Lesotho for you Sotos, Tswanas, Vendas, Zulus, everybody.
Real South Africans love diversity. That's why we have introduced 2 more items, new peri-crusted wings and delicious chinchado and chips.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think of this advertisement? Zenzo, what do you think of this advertisement?
It's a very controversial ad in my opinion. It touches on a very sensitive topic to a lot of people. Yeah, I really don't know. I've got mixed feelings about it. But it's a terrible ad. Okay, it's not a terrible ad, but it's bad. Yeah, in my opinion, I just don't like it.
Okay, but what's bad about the advert? They are saying, "Oh, you people, you foreigners, yeah." Then at the end, they are showing us chicken.
Like, it's just, it's confusing, you know. Like they're talking about other people. You'll probably think that they're gonna say stop xenophobia or whatever, but now they're showing us chicken, and then you see now, okay, maybe that was the aim, to confuse people, to grab their attention, because I mean, in confusion comes order, a higher degree of order than that which existed prior to the confusion. So maybe that was their approach.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's say here. Let's say I'm sure all of you can see there. She said, to be honest, at the end of the video, I forgot what they were advertising. So with the way it started and with the way the advertisements end, you're not sure what is it that they're advertising. Like what you say, at the end, you thought it's going to say no to xenophobia, but no, then it's saying we have chicken for 19 rand. Okay, so however, now this is very important now to understand. Remember, we said overtly political commentary of Nando's. So we are saying the advertisements that we have here in South Africa, it ranges from one, overtly political commentary. So there is a political message in that advertisement. In a way, they are saying, we don't like immigration. We have to do something with our immigration laws. We have too many people from two different countries. Then at the end, they just try to justify it by also saying, even you Afrikaners, you need to get out of South Africa as well. The other message they are saying to us, they are saying the real South Africans are the Khoisan. Other than the Khoisan, none of you are real South Africans. Okay, so this advertisement, it came out during the time when, where some politicians were campaigning for land, expropriation of land without compensation. So can you see now how they were trying also to put an opinion over that matter through an advertisement? So that's political commentary that is hidden in an advertisement. After seeing this advertisement, of course, you'll be like, wow, but hey, these people, this doesn't relate. Yes, it doesn't relate, but it has a political communication inside. They're talking of immigration. They're talking of immigrants. They're talking about who is the real South African, the identity of South Africans. The Khoisans. At the end there, if you notice, the Khoisan guy says, go, because you found us here. Meaning they are the ones that are real South Africans. So it's a very controversial advertisement. And I remember it was banned. It's very controversial. Okay. So that's how we have these advertisements in South Africa. They're different. Then we also have a straightforward domestic function. Sorry, we also have straightforward advertisements. They don't have any political niches or any political metaphors in them. They're strictly just advertising. Just think of your Omo advertisement. They're just advertising their washing powder. They're not getting involved in any politics. Okay. A popular trend was taking on social issues with a positive slant. For example, if it toys with our expectations and reflect on society in interesting and unexpected ways, just like the advertisement that we just saw now. You didn't expect Nando's to do something like that. At the same time, it gives you that inquisitive mind to research more, to find out more. Like now, you students of advertising now, you'd understand more advertisements better now with more. The more we are going to enlighten each other during these lessons, the more you will be like, oh, okay. Whenever you see an advertisement now, you're going to think differently. You're going to be like, but let me find more. What is it that they're trying to communicate? Okay. Then we have straight up advertisements. Okay, like I said, the Omo, even Nando's, we have other different Nando's advertisements that are just clean, straight to the point. Okay. Yes, is it a question? Oh, it's not a question. Okay. Now, we have the changing landscape of advertising spending in South Africa. So remember, advertising, it always evolving. It changes with time. It's not stagnant. Always creative ideas are coming in. Also, the spending of advertising has changed from where it was back then to now. For instance, now, if you look at from 2010 to up to 2014, if you look at advertising in TV, the money that was spent in 2010, this was around 12,124,000 rands that was spent just in advertising on television. In 2014, 14 million was spent. So you can see things are changing. And there's growth in advertising spending between that particular time, which is about 18% growth. So in 2010, companies spent over 12 million advertising on TV. In 2014, companies spent 14 million advertising on TV. The same with radio. In 2010, they spent 3 million advertising on radio. In 2014, they spent 4 million. There was again growth of spending, about 47% growth in terms of spending. Okay, the same with newspapers. There was 5 million spent in 2010. In 2014, it was around 6 million. Okay, same with magazines, 3 million in 2010. In 2014, 4 million. Internet, in 2010, there was about 500,000 spent on advertising on internet. In 2014, there was an immense growth of 2 million spent, which is about 236% growth. Now, internet advertising is the thing for everyone now, for all companies. Okay. Okay. So now, because we're running out of time there, let me see. Okay, so let's just continue. Let's continue after. I'll give you 3 minutes. So let's continue at 9:30 so that we can continue the lesson. So I'll just give you 5 minutes break. So I'll see you